Hey everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. Today we're going to do the ACT3 update number 27. And I've always skipped this in my introduction, and it's apparent to me that people don't know that I have a how-to channel. So, I would like to invite you all that don't know to go over and check out the N-Scale how-to channel. It's that simple. So I would appreciate it, some likes, and go over there and check out the videos. Anything I do that's generally something not related to the ACT specifically, that's more of a how to do something, it goes over there on that channel. But I recently found out, I don't know why, to me they all come together. But people have said that they didn't know anything about the N-Scale how-to channel. So check it out. I'll put a link below, N-Scale how-to channel. Check it out if you would, guys. I would appreciate it. And I never ask either, and I'm not demanding anything. But anybody who advertises on my site, if you click on that item and go take a look at what they're selling, I would appreciate it because we make a little bit of money off of that advertising. But anyway, thanks for checking it out, and let's get busy on this. Okay, two things I want to show you guys first, and I know this was in the mini tips. But as you can see, I got the another switch put in for the mine area. We've already covered that in the mini tip, but I just wanted to show it again and included it in the update 27. So now I'm going to show you another little tidbit that I've done, and I don't know whether I've mentioned it in previous videos, but it'll just help you a little bit possibly. Okay, I'm sure that many of you recognize this as a Digitrax. Of course, this is a 402D wireless throttle. We went over that in the little mini tips also, but what I didn't cover, and I don't know if I've covered it in other videos, is everybody finds it obnoxious, the long cord that these things have on them, because you tend to swipe them around and knock equipment off. Well, here's what I've done to both of mine. I've cut that cord off down to about 3 inches to leave me room to put new connectors on it several times. If need be, I can go in and solder inside. But I have had one of my throttles, the other one, not this one, but I've had the other throttle cut off like this for 2 years now. I've never had trouble reaching. Many people say this is part of the antenna, it's this, it's that. Well, I don't think so, because I cut the other one off and I can reach everything in our 60-foot long building out at the fairgrounds, no problem. So this is Gavin's throttle. He had ruined the plug on the end, so I have now cut this one down to about 3 inches long. It just saves you from dragging this thing around and dragging equipment off all the time, yet you still got enough to plug into a UP5 if you need to do something. So anyway, I hope this answers the question that you can cut this cable down without any ill effects to the throttle. Now that, somebody may disprove that, but I'm telling you that right now, and I have not had trouble with either one of these throttles in 2 years. So let's move on to what I've accomplished. Okay, another thing that I found when Gavin and I were switching is that if you had a derailment or something, you needed one of those. It's a Kato re-railer. I prefer those over anybody else's, and I put a little nail in the layout and hung them on the little nail. I'll swing around and show you the one here. I put one over there. I put one here by these throttles in front of the yard, and excuse my mess, I put one way down there next to that throttle. So I have 3 of those scattered across the layout. The next thing I'm going to try and figure out, as Gavin and I were switching, is how and where I can suspend one of these near that. It's hard to pound a little bitty brad or something into this, so I'm trying to figure out some easy way of putting this on a string and hanging it under that, or I'm not really exactly sure what to do yet, so I haven't done anything. The hole and the size of the top here is not sufficient to drill the hole big enough to hang it on that nail, I don't think. I'm afraid they're going to break. So anyway, Gavin and I use these Rix picks to uncouple and uncouple cars. Makes it a little bit easier. I've had guys ask me about the magnet system. While it does work, you have to make sure that all of your couplers work good, and you have to make sure all the magnets are at the right height, and then you got the problem of the magnets maybe not being in all the places you want them. So anyway, that's why we uncouple by hand, and like I say, we're going to figure out where to hang those. Okay, in the back you can see that this scenery is a little bit on the red side. All my scenery going down towards the other end is going from a reddish brown. It looks red in the video, but it's actually kind of brown looking here. But anyway, it's going to go from brown down there to that kind of orangish color that you see way down there that we've seen before. Okay, but as a matter of fact, while I'm right here, these were the two basic colors I was using to do that back there. When I got through, it really looked dark and it really looked red. Robin says, geez, that really looks dark. And maybe it still looks dark in the video. But however, what I did is I came back with these two colors and I just picked them out of the air, and I can probably tell you what they are. Hang on. One of them was toffee. This light color is toffee. The other brownish color there is, what is this? This is coffee. So we have coffee and toffee. What a combo, huh? So anyway, what I do to even paint all this is I go ahead and put my colors in here, and I use a wet, I have a thing of water, and then I have a thing of clean water, really clean water that I keep clean, and I dip it in here, and I just went over everything. And if you had seen it early this morning, it's very much toned down from what it was. And once I start putting the lighter ground covers on there, you'll find that it lightens up even more. But when I was putting this on, and the reason I keep a really clean water handy is that you splash up on the backdrop. And so I was kind of wiping that off or using a brush to brush it off as I go. But I'm going to zoom in on something here to show you that not everything goes perfectly when you're scenicking. I apparently had some of the glue from the backdrop that I put up there, and the paint got on it, and I cannot get it off without taking off the white paint. So, to cover that up, there will be some trees there and some foliage anyway that will cover that odd transition between the masonite and the printed backdrop. And hopefully when I get through with that, you won't even be able to see that. Now let me back out again. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, you can see that everything blended in pretty well, considering you guys remember what the inside of that looked like. By the way, when I toned this outside down, I went inside of the Indian ruin and toned it down with the same color. And that brings everything together, okay? You can also see, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you can see that I've dry brushed white on the rocks, so that when I put that scenery around there, those will really stand out nicely. Now let's move down here and see what I've done by the trestle. Okay, everybody was asking me, when I was going to fill in around the trestle. Well, I have done so. I have to admit, it wasn't easy shoving all that plaster down underneath there and getting it all to slope correctly without the stair steps and all that manure, and it looks very bland and white at this particular time, but I will come back and blend that in with the same paints that I used before. I went in with my same clean brush and brushed off any place I got white plaster on the trestle itself. And if there's any place where I don't get it and it shows up later, it's a very simple matter of going back on and put a little black wash on there. So basically that is the ground cover, or not the ground cover, the ground around the trestle. I can lower you down here and give you another look. Give me just a second. Okay, here's a closer look at how the terrain looks down there. And now you can see that it looks much better than the straight stair steps that were there. And once that all gets colored and foliage gets put in down there, you'll never know the difference. Now, let me show you what else I had to do in addition to that. Okay, in addition to what I did at the trestle, it leaves a dip or a ditch on the other side. So there has to be a way to get the water out of there. So what I did is I happened to have this little culvert right here. I went ahead and cut the plaster cloth out, cut the foam out, and then as the pipe going through, since I didn't want it to look like plaster cloth inside, and I will zoom in on that in a minute, I just rolled up a piece of copy paper and then put super glue on it, super glued it to the back of that, and then trimmed it off with a very sharp knife on the front edge. Then when I paint that gray and I paint the inside of the pipe black, it'll all be cohesive and look like it belongs there. I know you can't see in the video here very well, but I took this, I put some regular plaster in there without any texture in it, and then I kind of made a little ditch down here, and that's why I went so far with this stuff. Had to give the impression that the water runs out of there like it should. And there was no need to put one on the other side because you won't see it. So this little guy here will be the way for the water to get out from the dip on the other side of the track without putting in a bridge. Now what I'm going to try to do is zoom in so you can see that pipe affair inside. Okay, here I am zoomed in, and you can, in this zoomed in picture, you can see a little bit of fuzz around the edge where I cut the paper, but it does give the impression of a pipe going in there, and it will look better, of course, when it's painted. And I guess from this point on, just let me refresh you on what I'm going to do from here. Okay, so here's a shot from back here. Once I get these two places touched up here that I've talked about, which is I'm going to have to wait 24 hours for that plaster to dry. It's really slow drying plaster. But when it does, I'll get the color matched up. And once I do that, then I can start doing the scenery on top of there. And by the way, where the scenery is over here, it was a very similar brownish red like that. So you can see that once the ground cover goes on there, it disguises what appears to be very, very red right now. Like I say, if you were here, it actually looks more brown than red. I don't know why on the camera it looks so red. But you can see that I've gotten down in considerable ways, and I'm hoping to get scenery done all the way down to there by the time I do a next video. Okay, you guys saw this in the last video. It's one of the Chooch wood retaining walls, wood tie retaining walls. I went ahead and painted it and weathered inside with a wash of black where the rock and stuff is. Then I went over that with a dry brush of gray and black to highlight the ties. Then I went over the top of that with white to highlight the edges of the ties. And I can certainly zoom in on this a little bit to hopefully you can get an idea of what it looks like close up. So there you have it. That's what it looks like close up. It looks much better in person than it does when I back the camera out. And I think I had mentioned before, hold on one second. I know that I mentioned it in the mini video, I believe, but we're going to once again go over something I've already done. This point right here is the narrowest point where this upper track comes out to track on the lower part. So I wanted to put this almost flat retaining wall here to give me room to get a road through here. So that was the purpose for that. Okay. While I did not fix the hole right there, I did take a piece of a printed backdrop and cut it out and stuck it in there. Now you can see that ties all of that stuff there together once I fix that little hole. I am happy with that. We're going to have some trees and foliage over there to disguise the incoming river there, but I think it lends some credence to a canyon being back there that feeds the lake. And as a little bonus feature, here's Robin working on her floor for her Santa Claus house. and I'll show that to you here in a second. We also have Emma out here helping. Hi, Em. Hi, Em. Let me show you her house, how it's coming along so far. Here's what she's been able to accomplish so far. I'm not going to turn it around. It's a log cabin design. Of course, got a downstairs area. It's going to have a stairway up through here. This is going to be the roofing on the ceiling. She has it all cut and painted. Just needs to be applied to the ceiling of the bottom, up underneath the bottom floor.
The upstairs is going to be the workshop.
And yep, upstairs. And the upstairs is going to be the workshop. So anyway, that's how it's coming along. It's all wired for lighting, and I'll let you guys go. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed update 27 on the ACT. And as always, thanks for watching.